Behind every great king, there is a hidden power. And behind the golden legend of King Arthur and his Camelot, that power had a name: Merlin. We know him as the wise, bearded wizard, the kindly mentor with a pointy hat. But the true story, hidden in the darkest corners of medieval legend, is far more complex. What if this great wizard was the son of a demon, a failed antichrist walking the earth? What if his entire life was a tragic, desperate attempt to build a perfect world that he, with his perfect foresight, knew was doomed to fail from the very beginning? Today, we don't just tell the story of a wizard. We perform a psychological autopsy on the architect of a legend and investigate the profound tragedy of a man who could control the fate of a kingdom, but could never escape his own. To understand the man, we must first investigate his unnatural birth. Merlin was a Cambion, a being born from the union of a mortal and a demon. The legends say he was conceived for a terrible purpose. He was the product of a demonic plot to create an antichrist, a being of immense power who would use his dark gifts to turn humanity against God. His father was an incubus, a demon who preys on sleeping women. His mother was a mortal princess, or, in some tales, a devout nun. He was born with all the knowledge of the past from his demonic heritage and a terrifying ability to see the future. But the plot failed. Immediately after his birth, his desperate mother had him baptized, a sacred act that washed away the demonic evil but left the supernatural powers intact. This created the ultimate paradox. Merlin was a man with the power of a demon, the foresight of a prophet, and the tormented conscience of a human. He was forever trapped between two worlds, light and darkness, fated to walk a lonely path that no other being could ever understand. Merlin's first great act was not one of heroism, but of cold, calculated political manipulation. The king, Uther Pendragon, was consumed by a burning lust for grain. The beautiful wife of his rival, the Duke of Cornwall. This obsession threatened to plunge the entire kingdom into a bloody civil war. Merlin saw this chaos, but he also saw an opportunity. He saw the great king that could be born from this union. So, he made a dark bargain. He agreed to use his shape-shifting magic to disguise Uther as Igraine's husband, allowing the king to trick her and sleep with her for one night. But the price was absolute. The child conceived from this act of deception would belong to Merlin. That night, Uther's rival was killed in battle, and the future King of Britain, Arthur, was conceived. Merlin, true to his word, took the infant Arthur away the moment he was born, hiding him to be raised in secret. He had secured the bloodline of a great king, but he had built it on a foundation of betrayal, adultery, and a terrible lie. As Arthur's tutor and chief advisor, Merlin became the architect of Britain's golden age. He guided Arthur to the sword in the stone. He orchestrated the creation of the Round Table, and his wisdom shaped the laws of Camelot. It was a perfect kingdom, but for Merlin, it was a beautiful, heartbreaking tragedy that he was forced to watch in slow motion. Because of his demonic heritage, he experienced time differently. He lived life backwards, remembering the future. This was his greatest power and his most terrible curse. He saw it all with perfect clarity before it ever happened. He saw the arrival of Lancelot, the greatest of the knights. He saw the forbidden love that would bloom between Lancelot and Queen Guinevere. He saw the incestuous birth of Mordred, the son who would become his father's destroyer. And he saw the final, bloody battle of Camelot, where the dream of Camelot would die. His entire life was a constant, futile struggle to prevent an apocalypse he knew was inevitable. The man who could see every future was ultimately blinded by his own heart. In the final chapter of his life, Merlin fell deeply and obsessively in love with Nimue, one of the ladies of the lake. She was a young, beautiful, and incredibly ambitious student of magic. And Merlin's foresight told him with absolute certainty that she would be his doom. He knew she was using him, that she desired his knowledge more than his love. Yet, he was powerless against his own emotions. He taught her all of his greatest secrets, all of his most powerful spells, essentially handing her the very weapon that she would use to destroy him. He gave her the knowledge to control the elements, to shapeshift, and to imprison a being for eternity. He willingly armed his own assassin. This was his final, tragic paradox. The wisest man in the world, who could advise kings and build kingdoms, was a complete fool. When it came to his own heart, the story ends as Merlin foresaw. Once Nimue had learned all his secrets, she used his own magic against him. She lured him to a cave, or in some tales, a hawthorn tree, and used a powerful binding spell he had taught her to seal him within it for all eternity. The great wizard, the architect of Camelot, the son of a demon, became a prisoner of his own knowledge and his own love. The story of Merlin is the ultimate tragedy of a being with immense power who was ultimately defeated by his own humanity. He could see the future, but he couldn't change it. He could build a perfect kingdom, but he couldn't protect it from the flawed hearts of men and women. His legend is a timeless warning that the greatest knowledge in the universe is useless if you cannot master the passions of your own soul. So what was Merlin's true prison? The cave he was sealed in, or the curse of seeing a future he was powerless to stop?